Welcome to Empowered, Mind-Body Inspiration. The mind is the map to wholeness, wellness, health. The heart is the key to genius and inspiration. Join me and my guests as we explore how to release and rewire into who you truly are, unique, whole, and empowered. Please like, share, and subscribe. Spiral up, spiral out. Welcome, everyone. Today we have Danielle Ingenito. Danielle is a spiritual empowerment coach, master healer, and expert in healing after a toxic relationship. Danielle's mission is for every woman to know her worth and never settle for a toxic relationship again. Let's see how this spirals out. Welcome, Danielle. So good to have you.
Thank you, Jayne. I am excited to be here.
Great to have you. So let's get right into your aha moment, because I know much growth happens in our deepest and most painful places, right? And you had a real aha moment into who you are and what you wanted for yourself at some point. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So most of my life I have, I help women heal from toxic relationships. And most of my life I had been in toxic relationships and didn't really realize that they were actually toxic relationships until I got out of my marriage, which was like 9 years. And I was devastated. And I had to kind of realize that I got involved with another toxic person right after that, because my ex was with somebody right away. And I realized that there was something wrong with me. Like there was something like, why was I doing this? Why were these the relationships that I was getting into when I saw other people being happy in their relationships? And I realized that I had to kind of go within and like start learning about things. And I had done like a lot of self-development. Like I'll go in boxes in my basement and I'm like, I've been journaling since I was probably like 14 years old, right? So I've always been like not feeling like I felt as though I should. But yeah, it was after my separation and after the divorce of my 9-year marriage that I started to realize that I wasn't doing enough, and that there had to be something else. And I was completely devastated. And then one day my friend had suggested an energy healer. And I was like, I was a CPA before that. I had my own business. I did accounting and I was like, an energy healer, like, what is that? But I also thought like, well, we're all made of energy. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense. So why not go for it? So I went to an energy healer and like, it was the first time, even after years of therapy, that I actually felt something shift, like felt lighter when I left there instead of just like hashing out things over and over again. It was like, I actually felt a difference. And I was like, what was that? Like, I need to learn what that was. I want to do that for myself. And that's kind of like the beginning of my journey.
Yeah. So just tell us, what is a toxic relationship? Like, what do you see it as?
Yeah. So a toxic relationship can look like many different things. And I believe that two people that aren't really right for each other can cause toxicity in a relationship. But what I teach is really about toxic relationships that have narcissism in it, which narcissism, I think it's an overused word nowadays, but I think, what I say a narcissist is someone with has no empathy for other people. They really only care about themselves, and they can look like people. They don't have to be like egotistical where they look all good all the time and all that stuff, which is what we think narcissists are, but they can be just like, you wouldn't even know that they're a narcissist unless you live with them. They seem very normal. They seem very shy sometimes, but many different people can be narcissists, but it's a lack of empathy for people. And then usually in a toxic relationship, you'll have the narcissist and then you'll have the codependent, which the codependent is seeking that love outside of themselves, which narcissists tend to see and realize and love that. So they kind of flock to them because they know that they'll be the overgiver and they'll do what they want them to do. And they won't have too much of a hassle like within the relationship because they're just going to give. So yeah. So a toxic relationship that I really work with is when you have that narcissist who makes you feel like you're the problem, makes you feel like you're the crazy one, to really heal from those types of relationships.
Right. So at first they give you what you want, and then they tend to withdraw it, from what I understand.
Yeah, there's something called love bombing, and it's very confusing because like this is the honeymoon stage of like the relationship. This is the exciting part, and it's hard to really decipher if you're with a narcissist or if you're with someone that's actually healed. Some of the red flags are they're going to kind of push your boundaries. They're going to, if you say that they did something wrong, they're going to kind of put that blame back on you. So there's some red flags that you can look at in the very beginning, but they bring you through this whole manipulation process where it starts with the love bombing, and then they start to kind of take off their mask a little bit. We say that they wear a mask because they're not really showing you them true selves, which is why they take it away, because that was never them to begin with. So then what will happen is they'll start to take that love away, and then you'll start to be like, well, what's the matter? Like, what's wrong? Like, what did I do? And all these different things. And then they'll put it on you. Like, what are you talking about? There's nothing wrong. And they'll start to make you feel like you're the crazy one, which is called gaslighting. And there's so many other manipulating tactics that they use, but that's what a toxic relationship is when you're dealing with a very manipulative, toxic person in your relationship.
Right. And so what's the way out? Is it to just love yourself?
It's more than that. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, we always want to love ourselves, but it's way more than that. It's actually working on the root of why you keep attracting these people, why you're staying so long in the relationship. So for me, in my program, I work with women. First, we have to get aware of where your energy is and where your thoughts are and all those subconscious beliefs that are within. And we have to identify the root of those, like where did it come from? Which most likely we go back to childhood because most of our beliefs are formed between the ages of 0 and 7. So we go back to our childhood, we revisit events and traumas that have happened. And even the traumas, they could just be wounds. They don't have to be something significant that have caused you to feel like you're not lovable, or that people will leave you, or that you can't speak up for yourself, and all these things that you believe you're not good enough about yourself. So it's really about going back into the root of the issue. And then, of course, I work with what's called energy healing, is to release the energy around that, not just the subconscious beliefs, but we work on getting both on the same page, because a lot of women I work with, they know that they're worthy of a good relationship, but they attract these toxic relationships. And that's because their energy isn't matching up to what they know in their mind.
Yeah. And the unconscious, it's really powerful, and rarely are you even aware of it.
Yeah. And I can't remember the percentage, but it's like 80% of our actions are determined by our subconscious thoughts. Like that's a lot.
Yeah. And that programming, right? That's just laying there lurking. And
yeah, it is. And it affects that. I'm writing a book that's called It's Not You, It's Your Energy. And that's what it is. It's lurking energy in your body. And unless you release it, it's going to keep coming up. And then what do? We push it back down, and it comes up again. So until you release it, that's when you really feel that freedom.
Yeah. Very good. And can you share what yours was? Like the program that you had to release in order to achieve
absolutely. Change? So for me, my father left when I was like 9 years old, 9 or 12. I've been trying to pinpoint the age. I think it was like around anywhere between 9 and 12 years old. And I didn't see him for 9 years. So in that time, like I felt as though everybody leaves. And I also felt like I wasn't worthy enough for him to stay. So I started to feel like I needed to prove my worth. So I was really successful in business. I became a CPA, opened up my own business and stuff. However, the toxic relationships just kept coming in because I would go to anybody that wanted to give me love because I didn't get it when I was a child. So I felt like I was unlovable. I felt like I had to over please in order to receive that love. And I really had to learn how to let my abandonment issues go and also feel like I'm worthy enough for a good relationship.
Yeah, big steps. Yeah. And I'm sure it doesn't happen overnight.
Oh, no. No, it does not. For me, because I was doing it on my own, I was watching like hours and hours and hours of YouTube videos and podcasts and reading books and everything. So I kind of did it on my own. And then with the help of an energy healer, I started to make more significant progress more quickly. But yeah, I mean, but with the power of energy healing, like it doesn't take long, as long as like therapy and just like talking things out and stuff. So, yeah. So, I mean, this has only been 3 years out or 4 years out now. So I'm 4 years out of that relationship, but I didn't start healing till almost a year after our separation because I was a mess. But yeah, so in 3 years, I've healed a lot.
Yeah. I love how you say that energy healing. I do homeopathy is a form of energy healing that breaks programs, but it is so much faster and direct than just talking, because talking is from the conscious mind, and you can talk till you're blue in the face, but you're not getting to the unconscious program.
Yeah. And that's the important part, is it's the subconscious beliefs. And we don't even realize they're there.
No,
we don't realize how they're kind of ruling our lives. And we just think it's like, why isn't this happening for me? Or why is this happening to me? And it's like, we've got to really dig deep to find those subconscious beliefs.
Yeah. And can you give some examples of narcissism, just so maybe a listener needs to just hear what that is, and it might help them?
Sure. I'll give it in the context of a toxic relationship. Okay. So a lot of narcissists will try to control you. So they'll try to control the financials in the house. So like they might like give you a spending budget, or they just might not give you any money, and they'll start to really kind of control that. They'll also try to isolate you from your friends and your family. They will also abuse you. So sexual and physical is kind of like the stuff that we can see on the outside, but what's really not known is the emotional abuse. So this is that kind of gaslighting where they're making you feel like you're the crazy one, always putting everything on you, calling you names, shaming you, guilting you, really kind of emotionally abusing you. And this is kind of like the silent killer, because you don't realize it's really happening, because when they're doing that to you, you're in survival mode and you're just trying to kind of survive the fight and get out without making them more mad. So there's stuff like that. They'll give you the silent treatment. They'll stop talking to you. They'll withhold stuff if you don't do what they want you to do. And this is the thing, most of the time it's very subtle. So you don't realize it's actually happening, but it's actually happening. So it's not something that's kind of out in the blue. I mean, obviously there are covert narcissists like that, but for other narcissists, it's very subtle, and they also make you feel bad for them. So they'll manipulate you by, sharing their sad stories, or somebody died, or they're sick, or whatever, so that you feel bad for them, so that you don't leave them. And then also when you do try to leave them, they're going to change their story, and they're going to be like, oh, I'm sorry, but I need you and I love you. And they're going to manipulate you right back in, and they'll change for a little bit, but then it'll go back to normal. And then usually what will happen is whatever kind of abuse that you're having in that relationship, they will actually start getting worse and worse every time you take them back. So I always say, just realize the manipulation when you're trying to leave a relationship, because they will try to manipulate you, but you got to stay strong and you got to recognize that manipulation.
Right. It's so hard, because you want to see change, but sometimes there just isn't. Have you ever seen a narcissist change?
No. I have seen them change for like a very short amount of time, like a few months, but then they go back and they regress. So I've even tried to do energy healing with narcissists like that I know that are friends or family, and I feel as though they regress back. So yeah, I don't think that they can, because they don't know that there's a problem. And when you don't know there's a problem, why are you going to heal? You can't change other people. You can only change yourself. And if they don't think there's a problem with themselves, then they're not going to change it.
Yeah. And what do you think causes the lack of empathy? Because that's they can't put themselves in someone else's shoes, right? So that's a big, big problem, because then they can't grow from it.
Yeah. So I think what happens is that probably happens as well as when they're a child. So I believe that, you can go two different ways. You can, if you didn't get the love that you needed from a child, you can kind of close down and shut your walls. So therefore nobody can affect you. So you really don't have empathy for anybody. You don't really learn how to have those emotions or how to kind of love somebody else. And then it's like the codependent way as well. It's like, okay, well, they didn't love me, so now I've got to seek that outside of myself, where the narcissist feels like the love is from within. It's on the same spectrum, right? So like we have a lot of the same tendencies, codependents and narcissists, but the narcissist just feels like they are always right. And I really think it's a coping mechanism that they need to feel so secure, but deep within they're very insecure, but they're very hurt, but it comes out as, no, I'm good enough. Like I'm the best and you have to do what I say, but it's actually a lot of insecurities from within.
Right. So it's their way of coping, but it's hurtful to others.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Wow. And then so you realized at some point this was the case and got yourself out. That must have been like it takes a moment of real bravery and trust, doesn't it? Because you're not better yet. You just know you need to change.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I had to ask him to leave the house. So that was like the hardest part, is to make that choice to have it be over. And another thing that narcissists will do is they'll try to make you make a split decision quickly. So when we were fighting, he's like, it's over then. And it's like, well, wait a minute, we were fighting about something else and now it's all of a sudden it's over. So like, that's also manipulation. So be aware of that. But yeah, once I made that decision, because I just couldn't do it anymore, I started to learn all of that stuff. But at one point I realized that it wasn't about him anymore. It was about me, and that I had to go within and I had to heal myself. So that decision, that I just remember that was like a huge epiphany at that moment. And I was like, wow, this isn't about learning about him anymore. It's about figuring out what's wrong with me.
Oh, wow. So what caused that epiphany? Did it just come?
I was watching a YouTube video and it wasn't even on like I think it was on narcissism, but it wasn't even about that. But I just realized, I'm like, he's not the problem. I'm the problem. I need to focus now on me. And then I started to work like creating boundaries. And then like, I kind of worked it backwards now, but like kind of healing myself.
Right. And yeah, just tell us more about that, because that would take a bit of time, but just the realization that you didn't no longer want to look outside yourself for truth and love and all those things.
Yeah. So I realized that all the feelings that I was having, because I was having a lot of feelings, he was with somebody else and I wasn't. And he, I don't know if he cheated on me or not, but it was very devastating for him to be with someone very quickly and then introducing her to my children. So it was really, really hard.
Oh, wow.
And yeah. So, but I realized that when I came to the epiphany that I had to work on me, and I read like the Power of Now book, which was really insightful and really helped me understand my mind, and that there was like the two voices in there. And I started to kind of realize that he kept triggering me. Like he would show up at my house with his girlfriend in the car with my kids. I didn't even meet her yet. And it would trigger me. But when I could identify that he wasn't the problem, it was me and what I had been through. So he was actually triggering my daddy issues that I had from when he left. So it wasn't about him anymore, because I was like, I don't even want this guy. Like, I'm not in love with him. I don't want him. But like everything he did was just like really getting to me, emotionally and energetically. But I was like, it's not about him. It's about my father. And when I healed that part, it changed everything. And now I can realize when somebody's triggering me, it's really not about what they're doing. It's just their actions or their words are triggering something from the past. And I have to figure out what that is.
Yeah. So for you, when he would show up after leaving, it would remind you of your father leaving and abandoning you and the pain, right?
Yeah. So when he shows up with the other girl in the car, I'm thinking, well, why is she good enough and I'm not? Like,
Yeah.
why is he with her and not with me? Like, what does she have that I don't? So I would start to compare myself. And then I realized that it wasn't about him. It was about, why wasn't I good enough for my father to stay? Not this guy, not my ex, but my father. Like, and so I was like, oh, it's not about him. So it kind of allowed me to release. When I saw him, I was like, it's not about you anymore. It's about my dad. Like, I got to heal this, you know?
Right. And so, what were the first steps? So, you did this energy healing, which led you on a whole new path, and now you're writing a book about it. What's your understanding of energy and how it helped it shift?
Yeah. So energy is made up of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, which I think just people aren't taught about this, right? We think it's all in our mind, but it's not all in our mind, it's in our energy. So when I realized that, the energy, and I usually say, like, when you go through these events, like with my father leaving, or, if you're abused, anything, if you were left at school or somebody died when you were young, like, there's energy that is trapped in your energy field around that trauma, around that event. And if we don't release it, it stays there. And I say that our heart chakra actually holds our memories. So every time that you see something that reminds you of that, just like, my ex coming to my house with his girlfriend, that's reminding me that I'm not good enough for people to stay with me. So it sits in our energy field. And every time you get triggered, is what I call it, when it comes back up, we get all emotional. And what do? We just push it back down, and we never actually release it. But when we can release it, it releases the feelings and the thoughts and the emotions around those events. And, in our energy, when it's trapped, it causes us physical illnesses, and we're trying to heal them medically, in the science world. But sometimes it's just because you've had so much energy trapped in those different chakras in your body that it's causing you physical pain now. And we think it's something out there that we want to take medication for, but it's actually just working with your energy that can make the shift.
Right. So you could change it if you could get to the unconscious, but you can also change it by getting to the energetic field where it's trapped, right? And releasing it in that way.
Yeah.
I read a book, and I've read it several times because I love it so much, but it's Barbara Brennan's Hands of Light. And she was a NASA scientist who could see the energy field, and she could see where the energetic blocks were in somebody's energetic field. And then she would draw how it would connect to the physical body. So she would show the connection between, the energetic block and then the physical illness.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that many just aren't aware of how it can get trapped. And she sees it's shown as like a black blob, and some people have quite a few.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like, I'll usually say, like, especially with the women that I work with in their throat, if they have like Hashimoto's or thyroid issues or strep throat or mono, they will start to, or even like tonsil things, like it will start to, because those physical illnesses are there because they weren't able to speak up as a child. So they weren't able to say no. They weren't able to have boundaries. And you can see that in a lot of different things, especially with the women I work with, the solar plexus and the sacral, with all the trauma. Like, it's crazy how many physical illnesses, especially as we get older in our, late 30s and our 40s and our 50s. I work with women in their 60s and 70s that have so many physical ailments because of the energy from even when they were a child.
Yeah. And just never resolving it.
Yeah.
Louise Hay has a beautiful little book that draws the connection between the mind and then the physical, what's going on. And it's very handy just to draw some, to bring some light to what's happening.
Yeah.
And all kinds of little things, but even just becoming aware of the connection is huge.
Yeah.
So that's what you do when you help people, is it?
Yeah. So I help them connect where their energy is blocked or trapped, and then also where their subconscious beliefs are, because I've worked really hard on my subconscious beliefs. So I know that it's not just the energy and it's not just the mind. You got to connect both of them, because you can feel a certain way, but maybe you don't believe something, it's not going to manifest. And if you believe something, but you don't feel it in your energy, it's not going to manifest. So we've got to work with both.
Right. And that's why counseling doesn't really work, because you just go circle it and you circle it. And in fact, you make it even bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you keep think about that with manifestation, right? We want to focus on the positive. And I remember going to therapy every week. I was like, oh gosh, what am I going to talk about this week? Like, what happened? What was the bad things that happened that I can talk about this week, right? Or just keep rehashing the negative things every single week, where we want to, recognize those negative things, shift them quickly so that we can stay in the positive vibration.
Right? Brilliant. So what else would you suggest for healing? I know you do so many things.
Yeah. Another thing that I love to teach women is how to connect to their psychic abilities and to their intuition. And in my book, the way that I'm explaining it is that it's all just energy. So, I try to really, with my book, relate it to science instead of so woo, where, if we're made of energy, energy doesn't die. So when our bodies die, our energy is still there. And if our energy is made up of our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, our energy is still around. We just can't see it in a physical form. So with psychics, it's not that they're, have a gift. It's just that they know how to tap into a different dimension of energy. And even with healers, we tap into somebody else's energy. And if we can do it in the physical form, we can do it when they're not in the physical form. So I like to teach people to connect to their intuition and to their psychic abilities, because the more, first of all, they can accept themselves for having this gift, we'll call it, and also be able to connect to a higher source of energy that has the information that they want and that they're looking for to lead them in the right path, it's going to make their life a lot better. And what I see is, when women will connect to their psychic abilities and to their intuition, it's like they trust themselves more. They accept themselves more, and they start to let go of all the judgment that they think that from other people that they'll have. And they start to really step into their power. And with doing that, they start to manifest into their life as well, because they're following their intuition. And when you follow your intuition, anything is possible.
Well, yeah. And if you follow your intuition, you're going to find what important aspect or important part of you needs to be shared right now to help others too, right? Like you're a piece of the puzzle in a grand, huge masterpiece.
Yeah, I truly believe that. I feel like it's the ripple effect. And I feel as though, especially with healers right now, I started a YouTube channel back in 2017, and I was doing tarot on that. And when I did that, because I was a CPA at this time, so I was like, well, let me just see how profitable this is. Like, have they been around for a while? Like, will I build a following? And they, most of them had started around September of 2017 to January of 2018. So I feel like the universe is plucking us. And especially for healers right now, I think that the healers and the energy is really going to start to come to play, and people are going to start, it's going to be something in our toolbox for mental health and physical health as well.
Yeah. And I feel a vibrational shift too, where people are going to become more aware of that.
Yes. Which is the point of my book. That I was because I help women heal from toxic relationships, but my book is all about energy. So I was like, so I've been intuitively guided to write it. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. It's not in alignment, but I'm like, okay, you're telling me to write it. We're writing it. So yeah, it's coming.
And so how did that come to happen? So it was obviously you were guided, it was in intuition, you were listening. How did that happen?
Oh my gosh, it's actually a funny story. So I was supposed to be going out on a date with somebody, and I was like, you know what? I don't know. He's not for me. Like, I don't know. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to cancel it. So I canceled it, and I went in the shower. And usually when I'm in the shower, this is when I clean off all the energy, and I also get some downloads. But when I was in the shower, I was like, okay, so I got out of the shower, and then I sat down. I was like, you know what? Let me just start an outline for a book, because I had known for a while that I was going to write a book, but nothing felt in alignment for me. And I was like, I don't know what I'm writing about. Am I writing about toxic relationships or energy? And I was just like, I'm going to let it come to me. So I got out of the shower and I sat down with my computer, and it just all flowed. Like I just made the outline and I was like, and it just all flowed. And I was like, this is why I didn't go out on the date, because I needed this download at this moment to then create the outline so I could start writing the book.
Right. And isn't that a beautiful feeling, that download? Like,
Yeah.
you just know.
Even with the book, like going now, I'm just like, all right, universe, point me in the right direction. Like, where do you want me to go? Who do you want me to talk to? Because to me, it's not my book. It's really not my book. It's my spirit team, or the universal book. And it's like something that they need to get out there, and they're just kind of using me as a catalyst.
Right. That's beautiful. And it's so timely. It's kind of why I started this podcast, is that I feel people need to start to listen. Like, we're sovereign beings, but we need to listen to our own intuition, our own guidance, instead of looking out to what someone else feels about us, government, medical, like it's just across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things I say about connecting to your intuition is that you've got to quiet your mind, because if your mind, and this is the healing part of it, because if your mind is chattering and telling you all these negative things all the time and really noisy, you're not going to be able to recognize or hear or see or feel the messages coming through. And the other thing with intuition and the psychic abilities is that, they come through in different forms. So if you're thinking that you're going to see something, then you might be missing out on feeling something in your body, or hearing something, or just knowing something, a sense of something. So you have to be open to like any way that it comes to you, and you have to identify like what is your strongest ability.
Mm-hmm. And how it might show.
Yeah.
So what was the first outline that came? Do you remember, of your book?
It was only one. Like it literally, I have just been doing like what they have said. And every time I try to change it, I go back to what it originally was. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Yeah, it was always about energy. I went through different titles. So right now, we'll cross our fingers that it's actually going to be this, but it's you. It's not you, it's your energy. But I had like spark your energy, or I forget the other titles that I had for it. But I had a couple of other titles, but the outline of the book has kind of been consistent.
Right. And just teaching people to be aware of that and to listen and develop their own inner guidance.
Yeah. And I made this book a little bit different, because there's so many chakra books out there, and, books about energy. But I think what people are failing to recognize is that we absorb other people's energy. And I know there's books about empaths and as well, but I kind of wanted to put it all together. And I wanted it to be a book for people that are unawakened, so that they can start to awaken to there's something else out there that can help you. So I actually go through, first of all, I talk about energy, and I talk about what that looks like, and that it's made of your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions. Then I go into connecting to other people's energy. So absorbing it. And basically, because we can take on other people's feelings and emotions as our own. And we think there are emotions, and we're thinking, what the heck is wrong with me? Like, why am I crying all day? Like, I have no idea why. And right there, when you say that to yourself, like, I have no idea why I'm feeling this way, it's most likely because you've taken on somebody else's energy. This is when you're in a great mood today, and then somebody walks into the office, or you go home and your partner is like miserable. All of a sudden you get miserable. And it's because you're taking on their energy. So you have to learn how to clear and protect your energy at all times before healing, because you could be trying to heal something that's not even your energy. So you want to clear and protect on a daily basis. And then you want to dive into the healing your own energy. And that's kind of how the flow of my book. I talk about the spirit world and how we connect. And, there's been a lot of people that I've worked with who have had entities on the other side, people that pass away. Unfortunately, this is one of my big things, like whatever vibration you leave this world in, you stay there on the other side, like on the other side too. So they could be low vibrational over there, and they could be clinging on to you too. So I talk about all of that in the book. Really, it's basically, the subtitle is how your energy is causing chaos in your life. So I go through all the different things with energy that can be affecting your life in a negative way.
Right. So brilliant. What other ways are people affected? So from the other side, from other people, and then some of the positive ways we're affected.
Yeah. So what I love, especially for healers, right? Because we can feel other people's energy without them speaking. So for people that want to heal, but they don't want to dive into the past, they don't want to think about it, they don't want to talk about it. I'm an intuitive healer. So I actually use my intuitive side and my psychic abilities to be able to, kind of like what you were talking about, how I think you said Louise Hay has can feel that black blob, right? It's kind of the same thing. Like, I'll use spirits on the other side to give me certain events, dates, times, ages that things need to be healed. So we can heal those things. So as a healer, it's an amazing thing, because we can see when people are hurting. We can feel it when they're not saying anything. So, got chills on that one. So it's like, because a lot of people don't like to talk. They just say, "Oh, I'm okay. I'm okay." But as a healer, something's wrong. So you can help them in different ways. The other thing about energy is manifestation. I mean, energy, money is energy. So when you raise your vibration and heal yourself, you can start to attract and manifest. Like the house that I'm in right now, I manifested this exact house without even knowing it. I just posted a picture on my vision board, and it actually ended up being this exact house, even though I live in a development of like all the same kind of houses. So it is an amazing thing when you learn how to use your energy in a positive way rather than having it affect you in a negative way.
Yeah, so powerful. And in relationships, has it helped? Or have you decided you don't need that right now?
Well, no, I haven't decided. No, I was there for a while where I was like, you know what, I'm just focusing on my business and my kids. It's hard for me because my ex only gets them like once a week. So I only have like one night a week to really kind of go out. But even in energy with the relationships, as I've healed, I'm attracting better quality people that respect me, people that, are not narcissists and not codependent, but people that actually see me on their level, and that there's a mutual respect. And I'm definitely attracting people that don't have lack of empathy. They either have too much empathy or like the right size. And I think that, two healed people need to come together to create a healthy relationship in the best dynamic anyway.
Yeah. It is very interesting when you're aware of how like attracts like your vibration attracts exactly what you need.
Yeah, it's so true.
And sometimes, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in every area of your life, work, money, relationships, even coaches. I just had someone like reach out to me, and I was like, as an assistant, I was like, that's exactly what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? So when you raise that energy, you just become like a magnet to whatever you're trying to bring into your life.
Yeah. And when it's negative, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because there's something there to heal, and your life force will keep presenting it until you get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, kind of good to get it in this lifetime, but
yeah. Yes. Maybe first time around rather than like the 10th, because I know I've been there. Like, get this lesson. Yeah, I thought I got this lesson. Okay, I guess I have to heal more of this.
Right. But you kept searching, right? And I think that's all that's, you have to do. And anyone listening to this should get your book and start going inside in order to truly heal and then attract what they need in life.
Yes.
So what else could you share with us on closing? What advice would you give people?
There's a couple of different things that I would say. First is always to listen to your intuition. Heal yourself so that if you don't feel like you can connect to your intuition or trust your intuition, the healing is necessary. Don't be afraid to invest in yourself. So, I've invested a lot of money in coaches and courses and stuff because people have the answers that I've been searching for. And instead of watching thousands of hours of YouTube videos like I did in the very beginning, it's like now I just go to a coach that can help me get to where I want to be faster. And one of the things that I like to say is that life lives in the uncomfortable feelings. So get uncomfortable and your life will definitely change.
Right? Be brave enough to look at it.
Yeah. Don't be afraid. Yeah, exactly.
And how do people find you?
They can find me on my website, DanielleIngenito.com. And I have some goodies there. I have a inner child healing. I have a cutting cords meditation, which basically if you have an energetic cord, maybe to your ex, or even a family member, somebody that you feel like you can't get away from, that they're just kind of affecting you energetically wise, you can get that as well. And I also have a deep energy clearing. So to clear anybody else's energy off of you, which is kind of where you really want to start.
Right? So at least you know what you're dealing with.
Yes, exactly.
Your own stuff.
Your own stuff, exactly.
Perfect. And I'm going to put that up in the description so people can find you. If they missed the website, it'll be there. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful story and your wisdom into energy. I think it's just beautiful.
Well, thank you so much. I've enjoyed this, and I hope everyone got something out of it too.
And for everyone out there, don't forget, don't give away your power to anyone else. Be the creator of your own life. Spiral up, spiral out.